The following is intended only for mature audiences. Always consult legal and medical professionals when needed. Viewer discretion is advised.
From a an energetic standpoint, anything physical in the body that sets up as an illness stems from an energetic perspective to begin with. So how are these things impacting our chakras? How is it internalizing?
I guess we'll call it the awakening time where they're more aware. Oh my gosh, I can tell my cat's acting funny, or I'm feeling like I'm being watched. Mm-hmm. And they're more aware than they are most of the time. I mean, it's like...
Right? A lot of them, for me, I had a little girl come to me. I was at church, and that was the first really...
And all of a sudden, within a couple of days' time, somebody's either lost their job or somebody's car broke down. You know, these are the accidental sides of manifesting.
Stories happen to people, and they take it on themselves. They take it on their shoulders. They take it on their heart. And, a lot of this stuff challenges them and their beliefs about themselves, about it limits who they can be.
I like to look at their charts before I do healing session with them. And if we can get their chart, we can really pinpoint, a lot of these are past life things coming forward.
What it is we have a conversation with that spirit, and we let them know why we're there. We also...
but as far as the negative aspects, it can really lower your mood, and, it can completely depress you. And I've seen that with a lot of people.
Because it was a shock for me, I expanded my knowledge, and I stepped into energy healing, and then I went into shamanism. So in working with my guides...
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Terra Turas. This evening we are going to be talking about spirit circles. So it's kind of like a back to class for a lot of people. For me, it's going to be brand new. This evening, though, we are definitely going to be kind of leading the class is Stephanie, who is in the upper left-hand corner. And also joining this evening is Mr. Malcolm Spears down in the bottom left, and Reverend Pat Beers down in the bottom right. So as we go along, if you find yourself having questions about things that are there, please feel free. Type it into your chat, either on Facebook, which we're doing live, or type it into the YouTube live chat room, and we'll kind of cover everything as we go along. From there, Stephanie, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this right over to you. How are you this evening?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
I just go right ahead. I'm just going to kind of sit back and watch and wait as you kind of teach us about spirit circles.
Okay. Spirit circle really is kind of like spirit rescue. And basically what it is, it's really about your development, your mediumship, psychic abilities. Is basically we have a group of people that are psychics, mediums, some that are not, but have a very good intuitive path. And it's by invitation only what we do. And we sit down, and it's our collective consciousness. We open the circle with the unity prayer. Actually, I kind of get things started with a little bit of a meditation, just to get people relaxed, because usually we have, it's after work, so we try to get people to wind down and just kind of relax, get their thoughts centered on what we're doing and getting our intentions of what our focus is for that evening. And then I open up the circle. I bring in the archangels of the cardinal points of the directions, and we bring in ancestors, we bring in elders, our teachers, our guides, and any family members that want to step in. We ask for our guardians and gatekeepers, because we do have them. They do come in. Sometimes they're different. And then we just kind of collectively sit there in that consciousness. And what happens is, because of our light and our consciousness that is there, discarnate spirits ghost, whatever you want to call them, they come to us. And some of them may be troubled. They may have not crossed over. And I'm just going to put it in that vernacular. And a lot of times what it is maybe they've had a tragic accident and it's happened so quickly they didn't go, or they feel unloved, unworthy. They don't love themselves. They can't forgive themselves for whatever. It could be a religious or a cultural belief that they don't feel worthy of going. They kind of stay in this residual loop of living life in their own kind of their own dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be kind of like it's a created world, their creative world that they're living in. And they're very, and you know, some of them are just still very unhappy. And so what we do is we just talk to them. We get them to look within themselves, that you know, they're a part of their creator, that they have their own spark, their own light, and you know, that they're loved, and that that's what the whole thing is about love, forgiveness, and that you are worthy. And we treat them with decency and respect. They were once human in this world, and we ask them to be respectful to us as we respect them. And it's then either a quick process, or it could be a long, drawn-out process. We've had some that are just willing to stay where they're at that moment, and we don't force anybody to do anything that they're not ready to do. So basically what we do is we help cross them over for that vernacular.
And that was my first question, is you're helping people that have passed, mm-hmm. and getting them to where ultimately they truly belong. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, you have some that go, hey, that's a good thing. And you have some that go, no, I'm not doing that yet.
Right.
Well, the ones that turn around and say, I'm not doing that yet.
Yes.
Do they ever give a reason why?
9 times out of 10, it's because they don't feel worthy. They've done something on this plane, on the earth plane, that they don't feel worthy of progression in their soul. They don't realize that the rest of their soul energy is waiting for them, and for them to connect with their soul so they can progress. And we try to get them to understand that. But we don't force it. We don't issue it. I know there's some people out there that will, you know, force people into the light, and we don't do that. Everyone has free will.
Those are the kinds of people that I take umbrage with personally. You can ask to do something. Mm-hmm. You can ask to help facilitate. You know, but that to me is just the same thing as being rude and walking into somebody at Walmart and say, well, by God, you're going to purchase this and this and this, and then you're going home. You know? It's like, but there's another question on the back of my mind. There are people that are popping up here in chats and things. Let's disabuse a notion. You don't sit and draw pentagrams.
No.
You don't sit and light all of these candles and have candles running around.
I do.
Okay, but what kind and for what reason?
Okay. I like to bring the elements in. I like to have air, so I have feathers. I have a clay pot, because that's earth, or I have my clay people. And I set water on the table for the water, and I have candles lit, and a lot of them are guardian angel candles or just white candles. And a lot of people that come actually put anything that is sacred to them. They put them around the candles, and I have stones, I have, you know, crystals and things like that, to to just kind of keep that vibrational level up. So it's honoring the elements, it's honoring the earth energies, it's honoring Father Sky, the Earth Mother, our Creator, our guides, angels.
But you're doing this more in a metaphysical stance to help
Yes.
create an energetic area
Yes.
that is conducive to your work.
Yes.
And by that, what I'm trying to say is you're not Hollywood and creating, I don't know whatever Hollywood thinks a spirit circle should look like, enchants and occult
Right.
this and whatever. And I use the term occult lightly, folks.
Right. Yes. No, I think a lot of people get this as a seance. It is not a seance. Right, Pat? You've been
Right.
there.
Far from it. It's a very peaceful setting. It's a very respectful setting. And a lot of times when they don't go, it usually comes down to fear. They're afraid they're going to be judged, or like Steph said, they don't feel worthy to be, and we allay those fears. And a lot of people who we have helped to cross over will bring others to us.
Absolutely. You're
They
right.
want
Yes.
help with, because they either were fearful of crossing, or they didn't know how to cross, or whatever. And it's too funny when not funny, haha, but it's interesting when they show up and they bring someone with them that needs help.
Is that a common occurrence?
Lately, I think so. Don't you?
Yeah.
Lately,
Yeah.
this year, I think it has been.
Yes.
But I feel like the veil between the worlds is lifted earlier this year than in the past.
Okay.
Much higher.
Pat, I'm going to ask you to take a minute, if you would, and explain that.
Oh, the veil?
Yes. Because I don't want anybody to have any notions of I don't know what. So when you say something, and we anybody that is in the metaphysical world will understand, and they'll say, okay, yeah, I get that, but what about the people that are not? And you're speaking hoodoo or something,
right?
So
well, and the first thing they need to remember is occult is simply hidden. Metaphysical is above the physical, and I have always felt that as we come toward Halloween and All Hallows Eve and Spirit Day and whatever you choose to put on it, that we are closer to spirit for whatever reason. And I also notice it around like Cinco de Mayo, the Day of the Dead in May for the Mexican people. And it's just that we are connecting more readily, more easily. It's just closer, contacting loved ones. I find my loved ones are closer to me this time of year. It's easier for them to connect with me and with others. So that's what I call the veil, meaning that there's not, if I say not as much static, like when you're on your cell phone and sometimes you're just like, you can't understand anybody because there's all this static and garblage. And now for me, especially, that I am able to connect more easily. I can understand them easier. They can possibly understand me more. Just a more gentle time and easier to connect with people.
Stephanie, when you are doing spirit circles, and as Pat says, the veil is a constantly shifting, thinning, if I could put it that way, or thickening.
Right. Yes.
How does that affect what you're doing?
Well, to be honest, I think I kind of have to agree with Pat that, it just feels, especially around certain events in history or times, and if you're having circle around that time, you do kind of feel like there's more of a spirit presence, that the communication is a little more readily available. You hear them a little more clearly. They can speak a little more clearly. They get their thought across to you, a little quicker.
Okay. And
so what I wanted to make mention also is that those that come are, they are there developing their mediumship or their psychic abilities. So when I talk about the collective consciousness of everyone there, it is about so somebody might get a name, or we don't get a name. We get, oh, I see a female. She has brown hair. She's dressed in a 1930s outfit. The next person may say, you know, they may be very empathic, and so they might feel how she crossed or how she died, basically. You know, she could have drowned, been in a car accident, or, you know, whatever you want to say it is. So it's kind of like the pieces of a puzzle. People put it together, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like it's that vibrational frequency and those pieces that bring the picture in, and then it's like she's able to communicate more readily, because different ones on their vibrational level, they're picking up different vibes, so to speak.
So in sum total, it's kind of like a group of people that are individually getting a piece of this puzzle. Mm-hmm. And as a group, it stitches together until the entire group can see and understand what's being presented. Because it's not...
And it does help them tremendously, because what it's doing is it's building their confidence level as mediums in their and in their psychic abilities. And not only is it just that, but I think what it does also is it helps build their self-esteem in other levels outside of Spirit Circle. You know, they feel very confident. They know they're starting to trust themselves and be able to be open with our group, to be able to talk about, you know, things that they've been feeling maybe all their life and they've suppressed it. Right, Pat?
Yes, I was just going to say, you know, that it's fun. It's interesting to watch. Like my friend Kathy, they talk about all the time, and I'm sure Malcolm experienced this. When we first started this, it's like, okay, I'm crazy. I'm hearing things that aren't there. I'm seeing things that aren't there, and yet they keep coming back. And eventually you just have to say, okay, what is this?
And it helps them, so, you know, on another level. So when they go home or they're out and about and they're experiencing spirit, maybe communicating with them, they know how to approach that now. They understand how to approach spirit, how to talk with them, you know, and, you know, maybe they can help them cross if that is what they need to do for them in enabling to help spirit. So that way, you know, I mean, I'm not saying you know, you have to have a group of people to do this. You don't. When you have numbers, it makes things a lot easier.
It helps with the energy.
Absolutely. You're right.
To have the extra people.
Yes.
I was part of a group that we used to meet quite regularly. We call it rescue work.
Yeah.
And, you know, rather than any other kind, you know, it's a very specific circle, and it would always be experienced mediums, you know, people who weren't going to, you know, grounded people.
Yes.
We call them Earthbounds, and we used to do 3 or 4 people to do this. And we'd sit around the table, and then somebody would be taken over by the spirit coming in. Somebody would be the doorkeeper to keep an eye on them. There would be another person to talk to the spirit who's coming through the medium. And, you know, people get stuck for all kinds of reasons, often violent death.
Yes.
It's just like, Shazam, you're gone.
Yeah.
And that can be incredibly traumatic, and it really upsets the general flow of things. It could also be like what Pat was talking about, was the judgment. To get that a lot. You know, they've done things, and they're worried about being judged at the pearly gates, or, you know, whatever their belief system happens to be. And they get stuck for a myriad of reasons. And we had all kinds of people coming through. We used to do this on a regular basis. But it's also, I also look at that kind of work as paying the bills for the other spiritual gifts that we're allowed. You know, it's returning, it's giving back, it's in service. And I always appreciated
I love that you're saying that.
Yes. Yeah. So it was very auditory, because the spirit would come directly into the medium, and that's why we had a gatekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, kids, soldiers,
Yes.
accidents.
We've had a myriad of them, yes.
We've had tons of them. If you're in Europe, it can go back thousands of years. North America, not so much, but it's, we did that every couple of weeks for many years. This group.
I do it once a month at the shop, but when I was doing this at the library, of course we called it meditation group.
Yeah, we wanted to stay.
Yeah, we wanted to stay.
Yeah.
So we called it meditation group, and so at the end of the year, I just did it as a love donation. And so at the end of the year, what I did, when you talked about, giving back to that spiritual community or giving back to community, I always looked at it as, so I would keep the money for a year, and then in December I would say, okay, folks, I've got X amount of dollars here, so I'm donating proceeds, part of it to the library because they gave us a room for free. The other I'm either giving to a animal rescue, or to a grief center, or to a woman and children's shelter. Because I looked at it like, this is spirit giving back to the spirit. The spirit of humanity is giving back to spirit, and spirit, it's that medicine wheel.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's that wheel of life. It really is. And I didn't keep the money for myself. Now that we have a shop, we've got to keep the bills paid and the lights on. So, but it's not an exorbitant amount that, I charge, and, it's still pretty free flowing, and I'm very appreciative of that.
And when Malcolm mentioned all ages, we had one night that was a samurai warrior, World War II from Pearl Harbor. We had, remember the Russian mothers from the sub, the first, what do they call that? The first nuclear sub that went down. Nuclear
sub, yeah.
Yeah. We had, remember the night we had the Amish folks come?
Yes.
And the barn had burned down, and it was the ladies on this side and the men on that side. I mean, we've had some phenomenal experiences. And then also sometimes people who've been trying to commit suicide, and whoops, it worked.
Yeah.
It never worked before. Why did it work this time? How did I get here? Where am I at? What's going on? Yeah. All kinds of things, from little kids on to elderly.
Yes.
Just fascinating.
From our Facebook chat is one of our other folks from Terra Turas, Jared Walters. And he's asking...
Hi, Jared.
Hi, Jared.
Hey, Jared.
He's asking two questions. He goes, how do the spirits that are seeking help find you? And how do they know your spirit group is available and accepting new souls?
Go for it, Steph.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Very good. A very good question. I would say that because we have our guides and angels and ancestors and elders there, I think we create a huge light and a vibrational frequency that they're like like a moth to a flame, kind of. They're curious and they want to know what's going on. And a lot of times, on our perimeter of, our spiritual perimeter, we have those angels and guides and ancestors, and they, kind of assist in that. They and a lot of times I bring angels in to help assist in escorting them to the other side, however you want to say it, or back to spirit realm, wherever, back home. So I think really it's about the vibrational frequency. They see that light and they want to understand it. We also have a gentleman there that does automatic writing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's writing, stuff down. Mm-hmm. The spirit comes through and talks with him, and he writes it down.
And the most common response we get is, the new people will often ask, how did you find us? Why are you here? And they'll say, we saw your light. They just
Yes.
simply say, we
Yeah.
saw your light, and we felt the love. We were attracted by the peaceful, loving feeling that you were generating.
Yeah. So
When-
that's.
Whenever
Go
I'm
ahead.
running a circle, I always make it a point to take the energy and go from heart to heart around people holding hands, and the energy going clockwise around through
Yes.
everybody's heart, and build a ring of energy, and then send it up. And that will attract an awful lot of spirit.
Right. And a lot of times what happens too, towards the end, because I always do kind of a healing energy kind of, we end that. And, I can't always connect with all of them, and and there's others that don't connect. So what I do is, when we put our hands up and we make that circle of energy and healing, is we put, people's names in that we're sending them healing. But I also say, those spirits that are surrounding us this evening, and we didn't make a connection, know that you can step inside this light, this healing energy, and know and be free, have your freedom, and to know that you're loved and you're cared for. There's no judgment, and you're more than welcome to go. We just send them some healing energy, and I'll tell you, you can feel that energy build. You can feel it in that circle, and as you well know. And
No, absolutely.
And they go. You just feel them leaving.
Wow.
They just kind of slip out. It's very peaceful, and
Yes.
they let go, and they're at peace. And there's just this, because often there's a lot of tension with that kind of work, because you're picking up on their fear, their anxiety, the stuff that's holding them here. And then
Absolutely.
as they just go out like that, and it just releases. It leaves an incredible feeling of peace.
And I think
Yes.
we also feel it. We also get that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's, people have asked me, they say, well, don't you get drained from that? And I said, if you're getting drained, you're expending way too much of your own self. And I don't feel that draining energy. It's not like I get a high, but I get a very satisfied feeling of accomplishment and helping spirit. I just feel that love, that abiding love. And it just makes me feel so good that I was able to help somebody.
Yeah.
Did you ever have someone come in and kind of decline, and then they came back later, like even a month or 6 months later?
Absolutely.
I've never had that happen to me, because the people who show up there are the ones that at that time are wanting to go at some level. I've never had one balk and then come back later.
I've had one or two that have done that. And what's been interesting too is, like, you'll have somebody that's very adamant, and then by the end of the 2 hours that we're there, they're still back there. They've been in the back. You can feel them. They're in the background. And the next thing you know, they're walking up and saying, I want to do this. I want to go. I understand what you're saying.
So it's kind of like there's a spirit that is acting like a wallflower, waiting to see what other spirits are going to be doing and how your group at that moment handles things.
Right.
And then they will finally decide, hey, I'm tired of being here, or I'm tired of being stuck. Do they often realize that they are stuck here? Or is it for them, my life ended just not long ago, and I've been walking around in this haze, and I bumped into you guys. What's going on?
Yeah, they do. They just they really kind of feel that this has this is right for them at this point in time, and they finally decide, and they just kind of live in this residual loop. We've seen some of them that have just been in this looping effect. And we probably, most paranormal people that are doing ghost hunting and stuff, they experience those residual things in hauntings, what they want to call hauntings. Yeah, we've kind of run into to things like that also.
But also, Michael had them that they're in such a fog, and they're doing Groundhog Day, over and over again.
Yes.
But
That's a good example.
They don't have any idea how long they've been gone. They don't really know this is the last thing I remember. And sometimes they don't even know. They're just in limbo. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Malcolm.
Most of the ones that I've seen, they come with their story, and it's like Groundhog Day, as they keep living the same loop over and over and over again. And that could be anything, and they bring that with them when they come into the circle, and that's part of what they're leaving behind, is that last sort of remnant, that last aspect of their physical lives. It's a little bit like remember The Sixth Sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it's they don't realize that they're dead, and they're just kind of confused, and they're stuck in this loop.
Mm-hmm. And they can go and revisit. I mean, they go and visit their families, and they understand that as they've gotten older, their families have gotten older. Then they kind of realize that there's something going on, but it's like they're stuck. They just can't see. It's like there's a mirror. I just kind of envision a mirror that they can see everything that's going on, but they can't see you, and they're confused, they're perplexed at how can this, they see things that have progressed and changed, but they're still, in the horse and buggy days.
All right, we're at our halfway point here in the show, so we're going to take just a few-minute break, and I've got some questions that I really want to ask, more out of curiosity than anything, but okay. And hopefully there will be some other people here. That there's a good group in Facebook chat this evening. And a few people on YouTube, and I'm sure that they'll have a couple of other questions as we go along. But for right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back after our break. This evening, again, we're talking about spirit circles and some of the things that you should do, should not do. We're going to get into in just a moment. But it's been interesting so far listening to how all of the individual spirits have come from literally out of nowhere. It's not like a circle will sit every time and call them by name and say, come here. They have many different people coming from many different points in time. Now, I've got a couple of questions that I want to ask. First, Pat, during our break, you were talking about, and everybody was kind of talking about, at the end of a spirit circle. We'll jump ahead to that, and then we're going to jump back. But what happens at the end of a spirit circle?
We all feel good because, and I know the three of us feel we're giving back. We're giving back. If we were in that situation, we certainly would want someone to help us to proceed on our path. And it's just a wonderful feeling. It's such a loving feeling. It's such a relaxing feeling to know that you've helped someone on their journey. It's like someone who has a flat tire, no spare. They're on a road in the middle of the night. They don't see any cars. They don't know anybody. What are they going to do, And that may not be a very good analogy, but it's like we're helping that person to get that fix so they could go on again. You know how that angel appears when you need them without realizing. And it's just our give back. It does your heart good. It's something, nobody's paying anything for this. We are just helping our fellow brethren and sisters to be able to move on and be with their family and be with their friends and be with their pets, believe it or not. Steph and I, and many times when they're reluctant to go, we'll often see a pet that they had. And we say to them, did you have a dog or a cat or whatever? And, it's here waiting for you. And that kind of helps them to understand, oh my gosh, this isn't smoke and mirrors. This is real. These people are really seeing, So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Also, spirits can be, if they passed, if they were addicted to something and they're earthbound, they can often attach to people who are partaking. If they were alcoholics, they would find people to attach to, and they try and get the contact buzz off of live people. And then that leads problems for the people who are here because even they're not aware of it. And so when they try and stop their addiction, they have to deal with all this extra energy that's behind that.
That's not even theirs.
Yeah, it's not even there. So it's we call them earthbounds, and they can some of them are not in great shape.
Right.
Some of them lived a very low life, and they're really they don't really want to know anything about the light. And that takes, those are usually the ones that are the most challenging ones to talk through.
Yes.
Because you have to get them to see it. And they do.
Here's a question, since you're bringing that up. They were drawn to the circle because instinctively they know it's time to go. We'll call that a subconscious kind of thought on their behalf, but they're drawn because there's something about them energetically that they know it's time to move on. So when you say, and I understand if somebody had any kind of drug addiction or alcoholism or anything, that you first at that point have to break through the haze of the addiction to get them to wake up to what has happened in reality, and then get them to understand that passing on doesn't mean they're going to hell because they had a horrible life.
Right.
How do you manage to do that?
Steph is great at that. She talks them through it. She reminds them that there's no judgment on the other side, only love and peace await them there. And sometimes it's kind of a little bit of a tough sell, but she just keeps talking to them in love and reminding them and I'm going to say, open up their heart, if you will. They can't get their head around it, but they can get their heart around it. And so it makes it feasible for them, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yes. And sometimes, we can pick up, like, a loved one that's passed, that was one of their loved ones. And sometimes asking them to come forward will help seal the deal, so to speak. Then they can talk to them. Archangel Raphael, I call him in a lot for some of these special ones that just are having a tough time believing in themselves is basically what it is. Their belief in themselves and that they are a divine being inside. There's that divine spark. They are a divine soul. And they need to be able to connect with their higher self in order for their soul's progression to help them move forward. Get back to their soul group and go be a progressive soul and to thrive and to grow.
And that brings right up, Jared's asking another question, and I love how he phrases these. He goes, how do you facilitate crossing a spirit over, and how do you create the light, so to speak?
Well, I've done it different ways in order to be able to get them to use their imagination. So, there's been times where I've said, look, there's a doorway over there. Do you see that door? There's a door, and that door is in your mind, or you see that door. You saw our light. That light behind the door is your light. And behind that door in your light is family, is friends, your creator, whoever you believe in culturally, religiously, whatever you believe. They're there, and they're not judging you. And it's your freedom of choice to be able to walk over and open up that door. And you can step through and invite them into your world, or they can invite you into their world. And their world is much more peaceful. They have freedom. You have freedom. And there's no one there to judge you.
So in essence, you're creating a space, and this is me just being the logical kind of guy. You're creating a space to where it is a juxtaposition of our reality and an afterlife, but it's not like spirits are zooming in and out and creating havoc and causing hell. This is, hi, we've got a door. If you would like to go from here to the other side, it's by choice. And you're asking the other side, hey, somebody's a little hesitant. Would you like to come across and show them a little bit of what's over there?
Absolutely. So that there's no fear involved. And it's just like Pat said before, there's just a lot of fear, that keeps even people on this plane. Fear keeps you from doing a lot of things because of what other people might think, what other people may say. So, those things, that kind of consciousness crosses with them. They're still in that judgment phase that people are going to judge them. They're going to be judged. And that's how we have to try to get that. And a lot of times I just say, that spark, that divine spark that is within us is creator. And we're part of that. And that light is within you, the same as that light is within me. And look at the light that's around this table. We're all shining our light. And you have that light too. So, look inside yourself, look inside you and see that heart light that's within. And a lot of times just talking them through that, they get it, they see it, they feel it, and they're ready to go.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's got to be a very peaceful feeling, because
it is.
It's Kind of like
And
allowing somebody to shower and grab a fresh set of clothes and continue on their journey.
Yeah, and it can be very emotional. It can be very, very, very emotional.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's times I've cried because it was such a relief, because they were just in so much pain emotionally, physically, emotionally. They were just in such a lot of pain, mental pain, conflicting pain.
There's also our counterparts on the other side. And like we're the mediums on this side bringing trapped spirits or stuck spirits to the other side. But on the other side, there are spirits who specialize in helping these people cross over.
Yes.
And this is often the help that we get. This is often the reason why these people are attracted. And sometimes it happens quite a lot. The family members or loved ones of the person who's struggling often come through as well to help really make them feel at peace.
Yes.
And, it's and the analogy of the door, I mean, you also use that. And look who's there. Look who's holding their hand out, and they'll say a name, and we'll sort of go to them. And they're going to lead you on take your hand and lead you on into the light. Right. And I'd say this happens probably about a third of the time. Mm-hmm. So it's very magical space.
It is.
The energy is very, very similar to building the energy of the medicine wheel is a recipe for building an energy space. Yeah. And it's very much the same way. We sit in a circle, and we create that space for all the energy to come in and on this frequency and allow that all to happen.
Yes.
Nancy, and this is from the Facebook chat room. Nancy, and I'll apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Bolyard. And I believe it's somebody that Pat knows because she said, "Hi, Pat." She's
Hi.
Yeah. But Nancy brought up a very good question because we had mentioned it earlier in the show. So you say some mediums force spirits to pass over. How would you even do that, and that it feels bad in me just thinking about it?
They get very forceful. They get very, I said, and they just, sometimes they try to guilt them into going.
Yes.
And that happened. They'll try. And I'm like, what purpose does that serve? That you've not solved anything. You're using guilt to push them. You're not helping them.
No.
There's still going to be a part of them that's not going to be at peace because,
not loving energy.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a spiritual counseling session sometimes.
Yeah.
That's basic. I mean, that's what it is sometimes. It's like being a counselor.
Would you say that it is, and please, before anybody jumps all over me, there are many types of paranormal investigators that are running around on the planet. Some of them are very good at what they do. Some are very respectful. There are some out there that are just phenomenally amazing. And like any venue in life, then we can find there are some that just plain old suck.
It's fun and games. They don't know really what they're doing, and they stir the bucket more than they calm anything down.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to kind of point at, because those that run around going with a microphone and a recording device going, "Talk to me, damn it." Those are the ones that you would find going, "There's somebody in here and we're going to help you cross over." And their mentality is, we're going to help you whether you like it or not.
Well, I'm going to take this to a case in point. I was with a paranormal group. I'm not going to name names. And I am associated with a paranormal group. We don't do much of it, but we went to a haunted place, and they know what I do. and they begged me, please don't cross any spirits over. We don't care if they ask for help. Don't cross them over. This is our bread and butter.
It's happened to me once.
And I'm like, okay, sure. So in my mind, when I hear somebody asking for help, guess what?
Yes.
Or, I just have that mental conversation. I go off and, and I just stand there and drink my can of pop or my bottle of water, and we just have a conversation, and they're able to pack up and go. And you know what? It's none the wiser.
Right.
No one is none the wiser.
Right.
But I'm not, if I have somebody on my frequency that says, what's going on? Why am I here? What happened? And it's just, no, we want that portal open. We like that. We want the spirits to come in. Please don't cross any of them over. Yeah. So I get what you're trying to say, Michael. I do.
I horrendously feel bad for the negative karma that those people are inducing in their life. And I hope that at some point they can grow up, mature, and understand the world they live in.
Yeah.
And
they need to, they need to understand that those spirits, they were people. That's your grandma and grandpa. Those are your ancestors, your elders. You respect them. Whether they're their grandmothers, their grandfathers, their elders, you respect them. Even, it's just, you just don't antagonize and you don't poke the stick at the bear, because the bear will bite back.
And what's our favorite theme? Always respect.
Yes, absolutely. So, we ask spirit to respect our space, and we respect their space. And that's one of the things we do. We do put up our boundaries, and as we cut the circle down, or we shut circle down at night, we just say to them, please respect our space, and we respect yours. That's why we do the circle. Those that want to step into the circle and go to the light on their own without help, they're more than welcome. But you're not coming home with me.
That's a big one, too. From our YouTube chat, there was a question. It says, how do you deter negativity during the spirit circle when there are new people?
Deter negativity when there's new people.
Yeah, if somebody is new and joining your circle for the first time,
okay,
how do you kind of set things so that this new person is not bringing in a negative aspect? Do you have a conversation with them previously?
Oh, yes.
How do, because you don't want to have some mass murderer who's saying that they are, and I know that we would feel that, but you don't want somebody that is draped in black and coming in for the wrong reasons.
And believe me, there's people that love the negative stuff. They thrive on it. They love it. And, that is just one of the things I just, it's not like I've got a checklist and a screening, but, I'm very careful about the people that I invite into Spirit Circle. They're people that I trust. This is not open to the public.
And she sets boundaries when we start, especially with new people. She reminds them to be respectful. This is a circle of love and respect and helping people. Don't be fearful. There's nothing here to be afraid of. If you just sit and watch, if you don't know if you can participate, just observe for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you can see the anxiousness. Is that a good word?
Yeah.
Disappear from them, because a lot of them have had things happen to them, but they didn't know why, and they didn't know how to deal with it. So they're kind of there to help us, but also to help themselves.
I try to keep it as a teaching place.
Mm-hmm. And that makes it for a very good energetic background.
Yeah. It's kind I like to have it as a teaching place or a development. You're there to develop.
And the loving energy is so strong, and because most of us known each other for off and on for years, maybe not real well, but we at least, and we just kind of set that tone of respectfulness and love, and really, it's just negativity would have a hard time coming and even
Right.
coming in because they don't like all the good vibe that's going on.
Did anybody ever set a spirit circle with intention for finding information or for other than helping people cross over?
No. Not that I know of. Not in my way. No.
One of the exercises I used to do teaching circles at a spiritualist church, it's like you do all kinds of things. You do billets and psychometry and whatnot. But one of them is the 3-name technique, where you say your own name 3 times and your voice vibration carries a lot of spiritual energy, and people will read off of that. But the next extension from that is you say the name of somebody else and that you know well, and get a reading on that. And there was a woman at this church who, I know them, but basically it was a prospective boyfriend who she knew very little about. And she was trying to play I Spy, and I ended up getting pretty pissed off with her. But some people want to, spy. It's rare though, but it does happen.
And it's not that we don't have those times, because that's usually when a family will come to me when there's been a murder or suicide or disappearance, and they want to know. And that's something to be addressed in a one-on-one or with.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's a whole different.
Not in spirit circle. That's not what it's all about.
No.
We're there to help them get to the other side, and
right,
move on.
And because of that, I'm aware that there are groups of people that would say they are doing a spirit circle, and it may be done in theoretical name only, and they're in it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, come on, we all know, for every good reader, group or otherwise, we have our counterpart that is in it for the wrong reasons, doing the wrong thing, in it for malicious intent. Before we wrap our show up for the night, and I'll go around, Stephanie, how would you advise someone that if they're asked to be in a circle, how can they, for lack of better words, judge whether it's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I would say, and I'm not trying to put any kind of connotation out there, but I would say, if somebody that's leading the circle, they don't have to do exactly the way I do it, but if somebody is using a lot of love, a lot of respect, they're respecting spirit, they bring in, angels, they bring in guides, they bring in, those services, those kind of services. And if they're there to do, things for the greater good in that highest light, then that's fine. But, if you're going to do it to get this, then, run as fast as you can. Because, you're doing something that you want to bring in the darkness, or you want to bring in, I want to talk to Cleopatra. I want to talk to James Dean. I want to, those kind of things. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but, for sensationalism, that's not spirit rescue to me.
Yeah, that's not good metaphysical work.
No.
Malcolm, how would you tell people to kind of get an understanding between whether it is a good setting or not?
It's just really to sense the energy that's coming in when you start the circle. A friend of mine, his ex-wife said, "Oh, we want to do a spirit circle in your house." And they ended up doing some really nasty stuff in his house. And it was in the basement, and the man's son had moved back in and was sleeping almost exactly where the circle was. And he ended up getting almost institutionalized. He got so crazy with the energy that was there, and it took a fair bit to clean it out.
I'm in a situation next week where I have to do something like that.
You have to do a house cleaning.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff happens, but it's in the language, it's in the intention and the vibration. If it's not feeling good to you, it's not comfortable, you shouldn't be there. But there's also like public circles where, you're dealing with a lot of scattered energy, different people with less focus, less experience. So you have to take that into account. And the kind of work you do there is not the same thing, because a rescue circle is done with experienced people that you trust. And you've known them over time, and they're stable and grounded and all that good stuff. I mean, there's all different levels available to people. But the looky-loos who want to come in and have a tingle, for entertainment and be part of a circle and maybe get some messages, you're not doing any kind of rescue work or anything like that, because it's just too scattered, the energy. You don't build up the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Pat?
Yeah, there's nothing against seances, and spirit circles. I mean, there's very good mediums out there that do seances, and they do excellent work, and they're spot on, and they're on point. But that's what people need to understand: is circles are development, where seances are messages from loved ones. And is that right, Malcolm? I mean, is that?
Yeah, that's it. And also, like a seance is bringing people through the medium usually. Yes. And the message circle is all about the clairvoyant part of it. So the spirits are not going into you, but they are inspiring you.
Right.
And then the rescue circle, it's really, they're coming into you, and you're dealing with it can be some very heavy stuff. So
yes.
there's all different variations on it.
Mm-hmm.
Pat, in closing, how would you help people understand the difference? And because you work and do seances a lot.
It's circles, spirit circles, seance, table tipping. I tell them no drugs, no alcohol. I don't want anything that's going to alter your personality. Yeah. If you're fearful, you may want to think about this twice, because one negative person can really mess things up for the rest of them. So if you got two negative people side by side, first thing you have to do is split them up. Put them at least two or three people away, depending on how many are there. I always ask, what's the intent? When they invite me to a circle, what's the intent? What are you hoping to do here? Is it going to be for development or a message circle, or are you using a talking stick? Is everybody just going to yell out when they have something to say? But with spirit circle, it's the intent of the person who's leading it, or the intent of the people who are there. Are they respectful? It's always my big thing, guys. Are you respectful of what you're trying to do here? No theatrics. Yes, there will be sometimes there are knocks, or clocks going off or chimes going off, like at the shop a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But there may be something that happens like that, but that's purely very rare. But it's almost like they've timed it just to the point. What was it, Michael? One night we were doing this, was a cuckoo clock. Oh, it was Jared's cuckoo clock, wasn't it, that went off when you were? It was like they were making a point.
Mm-hmm.
But those things are few and far between. This is not a game.
No.
This is not, let's see what we can get going here and see how much energy we can stir up. That's not what it's all about. You've got to be respectful. What is your intent? What is it you're hoping to accomplish when you start this?
And those are the big kinds of things that people need to remember as they're going along. Intention is everything, and it sets the backdrop and provides the primary color, what you're going to paint with. If your intentions are horrible, I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Right.
Well, folks, it has been an evening having much more of an in-depth discussion about Spirit Circle. And I'm hoping that the people that were in the chat rooms, both on Facebook and on YouTube, were able to get some of their questions answered. Stephanie, I seriously appreciate your leading it this evening. I know that you have an awful lot, and in listening, all three of you have a lot of good information coming out. I'm just kind of sitting here like the new guy going, oh, wow.
So how did you
thank
feel
you.
about this? Did you get any questions answered? Do you have a better understanding now?
Oh, I have a lot of questions all the time about many different things, but they would probably segue into Lord knows what, because I'm good for that.
It all comes together.
Yeah,
Somehow,
but
and as long as you're more comfortable, because you're not used to this stuff either, that's the thing, to help you understand just a little bit more. So if something happens, you're not like, oh my gosh,
Right. And that's what's the way it is. It helps me understand. And if it's helping me, then I know some of the people that are in the chat rooms and watching this or listening on the podcast, it'll help them out as well.
Well, this is great because it's so educational.
And
it's very educational.
That's what we try to keep doing.
That's great.
Hey everybody, we thank you for tuning in this evening. You can catch a replay on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Terra Turas. You can catch up on a podcast that'll be available later on this evening or at any point after that, and you can find them through your major podcast players, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Apple. We've got a list of them on our website. If you would like to check our website out, you can go to www.terraturas.com. Everyone, I thank you for being here this evening. We're going to be back again. We're going to be back again next week with another show. Until then, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.